Welcome to The Smoke Break. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz.
Hello.
Lucas Copp. And Taylor Barrett.
What's up?
Good job. Do you want to say hi?
Oh, hi. Oh, my bad.
No, you're all good. You were grooving to the music.
Yeah, that was good.
It's pretty catchy. Lucas Copp is a local comedian, not a local cop, so we decided to have him on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome,
you don't
welcome.
know anything about me. You don't know.
That will. We're about to. We're about
ACAP
to.
does not include Lucas.
Yes, he is the exception to the rule. So yeah, this week we're talking about processing pain through art. Okay, here we go.
Hefty topic. You ready?
Yeah, hefty topic. Here we go. Has anybody processed pain with
I
art?
thought we were talking about Taylor's foot thing.
Nope. That's the next episode.
That's next episode.
What foot thing?
You seem like you're somebody who processes with
feet? Yeah, no, I process with feet all
Taylor.
the time. No, I do, and I don't.
That's after I process.
That's a part of the process.
That's how he decompresses after.
I do. I like. That's why I like your jokes. I do like your jokes. I feel like you are processing your pain in a lot of ways, and I think that's cool. I allude to it, but I don't specifically talk about it, and I feel like I'm just not far away enough from a lot of things.
Yeah. So you think that there needs to be like a certain amount of time between you and the thing before you can start to process?
Not necessarily. Maybe not time, but more like effort in healing and getting my shit together.
Sure.
And then I'll write a hilarious joke, maybe.
Yeah. How far along in the process do you feel like you kind of have to like get with?
This is as close to therapy as I've ever gotten.
Really? So have you never been to therapy? Really? Okay. That's why you started deflecting as soon as the episode started.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is about Taylor's feet thing, right? Jesus.
Like, there's a name for this. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's the second topic. But yeah, nah, man, I need to go. I need to seek help.
No,
Yeah.
it's okay. Everybody goes to therapy on their own time. Don't shame him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No shaming.
You're taking too long.
I do think there isn't a single person on the planet, neurotypical, healthy, whatever, that wouldn't benefit from therapy at some point. And I think that a lot of people are like, well, I'm fine, but there's always a pretty good benefit into talking to somebody about your psyche and just stuff like that. Even if you're not trying to grow from trauma or anything, you're just kind of like having a sounding board to just like reference things you processed in your life can help a lot.
Yeah.
It's very revealing.
You started going to therapy recently. How's that been with like sort of processing things?
It's been really helpful because I started doing like the video therapy instead of just phone calls, which seemed to be a little bit more helpful.
Telehealth?
What?
It's called telehealth.
Telehealth. There's a name for it. But yeah, it's been really cool with this specific therapist too, because through the same company that I was trying to get a therapist from, I had one for a little bit, and then she went to a new place, and she now I had to get a new therapist, and then I had another one for a little bit. The exact same thing happened, so I was kind of going through this like repeated process of like feeling like it was almost pointless, and this new one has made me feel a lot better about it and made me feel very comforted, and it's been very eye-opening, and I've been able to like process things through a video chat. I feel like because she's like dissecting body language at the same time too, me being fidgety or stuff like that, and like it's been cool hearing her kind of like pick my brain for me sometimes in areas that I struggle to.
Sure.
Was there a specific thing that made you like her more?
She seemed a little more like I don't even know the best word for it, a little more receptive to a lot of the things without necessarily seeking a direct immediate answer. She wanted to collect a lot of information. She wanted to ask me how I felt about stuff, instead of just it being like, well, this happened because of this. It seemed like there was a lot more back and forth, helping me get to a solution instead of her just like putting a solution in front of me.
Yeah,
that was a good question, by the way.
Yeah, that was a good question.
That's how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have an agenda when you're a therapist. The agenda is supposed to be like whatever the person finds through the process. You're not like the end goal isn't to like have like I'm going to do this for them. It's like I'm going to help them do whatever they discover they want to do on this journey. Like that should be how it is. Person centered is what it's called, or client centered.
And she's definitely made me feel like that. And even if the other two were attempting to do that, and maybe that might have landed better with other people, but this one has definitely made me feel like that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
What about you, Zoe? What about have you tried processing your pain through art?
I mean, yeah, I think everybody has in some way or another. But I mean, yeah, I've tried to write jokes about stuff that's like been painful, and I think you're right. I think like it depends on how long it's been, and sometimes when you do, it comes out like you're not over it, and then it's not funny, or you seem bitter. So yeah, I've tried it all. But then I have also gotten to the place where I could joke about it just wasn't that great of a joke, but it was still fun to like write a joke about something that was like my dog died a while ago and I wrote a dumb joke about it. Which I didn't think I would be able to. So yeah.
No, I personally have like tried to process a lot of my pain through art, whether it's hip hop, whether it's comedy. And there have been varying results. There's certain things that like I think that I've noticed that if I'm not through it yet, then like the audience can't laugh along because like they can tell if you're over it, you know?
Like, oh, that hurt him.
Yeah, that hurt him to bring back up. And not
you have to be over the hurt before it's funny because then people just feel bad for you.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing that happens is like if you're not over it, then you have the pain of the thing happening plus the pain of people not responding the way you want them to.
It's not a good feeling. Yeah, it makes it worse.
Jokes
yeah, and then it's the opposite of processing. It's like exacerbating the thing.
Yeah, way worse.
Yeah, because you're like, now I feel vulnerable and hurt.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that. So, like, what do you think is the benefit of processing your pain through art, Lucas?
I think the benefit because it's like I feel like there's a immense satisfaction if you get people to laugh at something that is painful for you. Because like I've talked about, like I've had a couple moments in comedy where it's like, this is what it's all about, you know? Where like I've had people come and be like, I've experienced something like that and it's cool to hear you talk about.
Yeah. Totally.
You know, and that is really satisfying. It's like you give someone else like a release and yourself because it's like you get the laugh. But if it bombs, then you don't know.
No. Exposed and shitty.
Yeah, it didn't work.
I'd imagine providing somebody that relatability is probably really satisfying. Where it's like, especially when you're looking for that in a lot of places through the music or comedy or anything. When you're satisfied seeing somebody talk about stuff that you're relating to, I can imagine somebody coming up to you and being like, I related to that, but I didn't know how to say it. That's probably you're like passing on that satisfaction.
And ideally, that's the point of comedy. You know, to make people laugh and make them laugh at something that's fucked up.
Yeah,
that is that's a point.
Yeah, something you didn't know how to like articulate or were ashamed to articulate. Or
well, I think for me that's like the reason why I process the way that I do is because I saw people talk about things that were difficult or confusing or. Like, I think Bill Burr talking about like how homophobic dudes are, where they're just like, "What are you gay? You have an umbrella," you know. And it was just like me seeing stuff like that and not really knowing how to process it, and then somebody making like a joke out of it and being like, "Yeah, this is really dumb. Why do we act like this?" Like that's been something that like for me has always been a point of connection. Is like, yes, that is very dumb. Why do we do that? You know, like it makes you laugh at yourself almost.
I watched wasn't you know who Ali Sadiq is? He dropped a special called
I recognize that.
And then he like dropped a special called Loss, and it's just the whole theme. Like he sobs on stage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like straight up sob, and it made me sob. I cried like a bitch. I've never watched a stand-up special and cried like a child, and I just couldn't even believe. But then he brings it all the way, like the energy is low and as dark as it can be, and then brings it back.
Yeah.
I've just never seen anything like it. And it kind of changed my perspective on what even comedy is, like what you can do with the art form.
Well, and I think it's kind of like life, where it's like there can't be the highs without the lows, you know, and like being able to bring that about as a comedian to like take people to a dark spot where they're like, man, this is really heavy, and then to bring them back out of it, it's like the ultimate, you know, dug yourself out of a hole.
I think a really unique part of processing pain through art is the ability to kind of like provide your own third party perspective on it. Like as when I'm writing scenes or just like dialogue or anything like that, there's a lot of times where I'm just kind of jotting down what actually happened or just like traumatic things or just things that I've struggled with, and I'm able to kind of like offer this character forgiveness, and that even though this is a self-insert, I'm like, this person deserves forgiveness, this person deserves understanding, and it's weird being able to provide that for myself through writing a character that's a self-insert kind of thing. And it's very comforting, and it feels like a lot of growth, you know.
There's even like a type of therapy called narrative therapy where they like have you like rewrite your story like in a way that makes you feel safe, or like you give yourself the thing you needed that you didn't have, or like you write the story in a way where you were able to like get what you needed in a time where you didn't or whatever, or like fix the thing, or so that's totally a thing.
It's been making writing myself as a character difficult, because doing that is, I'm like, well, I don't want to, you know, like write from like a masturbatory standpoint. I don't want to be just like making myself this cool person or whatever. And it's there has to be a level of like, obviously you want to write the story, you want to make it a good story, but at the same time you want to be true to the events and the experiences that you experience to make it like a real story.
What did you say? Masturbatory story?
Masturbatory, where
Masturbatory.
Masturbatory. That's good.
Masturbatory.
Wait, what word is that?
the masturbatory where you're
just jacking yourself off.
You're making yourself look cool. You're making yourself
I'm like, it's
feel
literally, that's a word. Oh my God. I've never, I was like, did you just say masturbatory? And I just super casually, like we all knew what the fuck that meant. Like
3 dudes did.
I mean, did you catch it? Have you heard that word before?
I learned that word from him.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth. I knew it.
Yeah, but it's basically just the idea of like writing yourself so well that you're like, yep, look at me, and then I handled everything perfectly.
So silly, masturbatory.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a derailment.
No, you're all good. You're all good. So we talked a little bit about the benefits of processing through art. What do you think are some of the drawbacks?
Because I had my aunt come up to me because I have a joke where I've been to 24 funerals now. At 24,
It's a lot of fucking
Yeah,
funerals.
you're only 24 years old. That's one for every year you've been alive.
It really, the math, it didn't work out, but like that. But
ironic.
Yeah, it is. And it's pretty rough. But I remember I have a joke where I said like I've been to so many hospitals. Like I'm less nervous about seeing the dying relative and more nervous about like saying "see you later" or something. About what I'm gonna say.
That's good.
I think it's funny. But I remember my aunt came up to me and was like, it seems like you're just talking like you're. Death is in your head because I was telling my family like I'm one of the oldest people in my family because of all those those funerals end up like it's just a number, but that number is something that I deal with.
Yeah.
And like at 24, I'm one of the older people in my family and someone people come to, and I always tell the younger people in my family, it's like, you guys are obsessed with death. You can't think about it all the time, but maybe I am in a way too. And it just comes out through some of the jokes I write.
Yeah, but how are you not going to be if it's been that much? It's part of your life. I mean, I'm not obsessed with it, but I mean, I think like it's part of your lens.
It is.
Something you're very conscious about for sure.
Yeah. This is something I live with. Yeah.
So is that something that you talk about a lot on stage is grief and loss and stuff like that?
It pops up. Like I've seen a lot of people die and it pops up, but I haven't delved into it like I could. And I feel like it is. I think I might actually find some relief diving into it. But like there have been times where I've tried to write a joke and then my voice broke in the middle of the joke. Like, I got cry. And I'm not crying on stage. These people aren't going to see me sweat.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
So
we're going to get you to cry on this podcast.
Maybe. Like I said, this is close to therapy.
I got one person I missed the one time. I was like, that would have been my Oprah moment. I'm having one. I'm just kidding.
So I think if I'm able, I think I need to process my shit a little better to get into it, but I tap on it, like I allude to things.
Yeah.
That's more than most people do that aren't in therapy. So kudos to you for that. For sure.
He's really judging him for not being in therapy. No, I mean most people that aren't in therapy, there's a certain type
I'm just saying, for someone that's never been to therapy,
like
you just got to therapy too. No, I'm just kidding.
I've been trying.
No, but so would you say that like you anticipate part of your like comedic journey being to like take on bigger subjects?
That's why I was talking about that special where this motherfucker he sobbed in the middle of a set, had a full breakdown, and then brought it back, and it made me have it because like the things he was talking about, I could relate to. He was talking about like losing his little sister, and I have like I'm worried about that type. Because that's all I got. The younger people are all I got at this point. Everybody old is dead, so it's like him talking about something that could touch me like that, and something he's gone through, and I feel like maybe I could go through. That touch, and it's just the way he made it funny. Still, like he didn't even make it funny. He talked about it, and then like his transition was like the only thing that made me laugh during that time, and then did a bit, and then talked about some things like. So he didn't even make that thing funny. He just got it out and then moved on.
Well, and I think there's a certain amount of like when you're talking about heavier stuff like that, you have to be comfortable with silence, and that's something I've never been comfortable with. That's why I have such short, quick jokes is because I don't like the silence. I don't like sitting in it. I don't like telling a joke and I know at the end that it's going to be funny, but like I need you to trust that me through the process.
Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes you lose it when you're waiting for it. Like, if there's too much of a pause before the funny part.
Yeah. So I think it's just a certain amount of like getting comfortable with yourself and getting comfortable enough with the audience to trusting yourself that it'll be funny, but trusting them to trust you.
Or just, even if it's not funny, that you'll bring them back and you'll get the message across that you wanted. Even like, because it sounds like he wasn't trying to be funny in that moment.
Yeah,
but it was almost like
not at all.
It was almost like the skill of being able to be not funny and then go back to doing a comedy show. Like. That's
because the audience was still enthralled. They just weren't laughing.
Exactly.
That's a different thing, and that takes growth as a comic and as a person.
That
seems like a very like Shakespearean approach too, where like the tragedy leads to the comedy, and they are adjacent to each other. They're related.
The juxtaposition. Whatever,
that's the word.
I mean, it's kind of important.
Yeah,
definitely. All right, well, cool. We're gonna take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio, and we are back with the smoke break. So our next topic that we're going to talk about is avoidance. Nobody make any dumb jokes. We already did them earlier. You panicked. You obviously, you're like, I did it unintentionally. I don't want to talk about avoidance. So avoidance, that's something that I find myself, I would say in the past, it's something that I've definitely like, it's easier to not deal with it than it is to find out that like I may have dealt with it wrong, you know, like it's easier to just not have it handled than to be like, well, I'm going to try and handle it. And what if I do it not the way I want to? So I feel like a lot of times it's a tendency, but what about you? Does anybody here avoid anything ever? Never, nothing.
No, I deal with everything head on.
I got all the stuff done this morning that I was planning.
You did, yeah.
No,
Zoe actually did.
I'm totally lying. I did.
Oh, okay.
Not even
I only
close.
avoid therapy.
I only avoid therapy.
That's what
Although I definitely didn't get all the things done.
I would say, because there was like I was talking about, like there was a crisis in my family, some things I was dealing with, and I had to do comedy because I was talking about earlier, like you have obligations in comedy, you get booked on shows, you run shows, and no matter what you're going through in your life, most of the time if you're a professional, you got to go do what you were booked to do.
And if you want to get booked again,
you have to do it, you know? But I remember I was hosting this goddamn open mic with 50 comedians, and like I have a full crisis in my phone. Like I'm worried I'm going to get a phone call that has bad news, or I'm going to have to go and talk a motherfucker down. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm just bombing my ass off between 50 comics. It was the worst. And after that, I took a week off of comedy. In a way, I avoided comedy because I had to avoid this to handle this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
so do you think avoidance can be positive?
that's what, like, sometimes you can't do everything at once.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to shut down some things to deal with another. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think it's like a balance too, like knowing when. Like sometimes leaning into the thing that you love is like a good distraction, right? But then other times it's like, this sucks, and I need to have these feelings outside of this space. Like I need space from this. Other times it could be like, I need to lean into this so I'm not overthinking about it, right? But it sounds like in that situation you needed some space from it. I think it's like listening to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of time you are right. Like listening to yourself is important. I knew I had to handle that thing. And it's also like when I went to go handle what was going on, I was so immersed in that, like I can't tell my little dick jokes, you know? Like they don't come out right.
Sincere.
No, it's not sincere at all. Like I'm looking at me like, nothing's funny. Like people ask me like, this not shit's funny right now.
Yeah, no,
you know?
totally. Just sometimes you just don't feel funny when you're going through shit. Yeah. Yeah, and it's almost like it makes comedy unfun when you go there feeling that way, and then you're like, I'm not fucking funny, and then it's like, maybe I should have just taken some space from comedy because I just didn't have the capacity to be funny this week. Instead, now I feel grumpy about my jokes or whatever, you know, like, so yeah, but I mean, we're all human, but.
Yeah, Taylor, what about you? Do you ever find yourself avoiding things?
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that, and I think it shows up in really, really weird ways sometimes, like, the most obvious example that I have was I think everybody that drinks has had an issue. We kind of like regulating what is too much. You know, early mid 20s, you're kind of figuring out what your limit is and realizing that your body might not be as forgiving as it was when you were 21. Yeah, and I realized that I was kind of using alcohol to like just avoid a lot of things, to avoid a lot of emotions that I needed to process, and it was really easy to just kind of put this fog around my brain and just let all these things exist in that fog, but they weren't in front of me. You know what I mean? They were just kind of floating around in this ether that I wasn't having to deal with. And there was a month where I decided to get sober, and that allowed me to process a lot of things and then kind of reapproach alcohol as not a coping mechanism. I'd be lying if I said it never is. You know what I mean? I'm only human, but it's allowed me to like evaluate what I'm using it for, what the effects that it's having on me. You know what I mean? Like I would drink too much very regularly, and I very recently was the first time in a long time where I drank too much and I wasn't feeling too good the next morning. But it wasn't like every time I drank I was feeling like that the next morning, and I realized that was a weird thing that I'd been avoiding processing and dealing with. And,
so you've used alcohol in the past as like a way of avoiding dealing with something.
Yeah, absolutely. Dealing with whatever, you know what I mean? And it was weird kind of lifting that fog voluntarily and realizing that you can't just kind of line these things up and process them one at a time. When you've been pushing them out into this fog, they all just kind of slowly close in on you. And all these things that you've been avoiding will just kind of hit you in a hard way. And that was something that I had to process. You know, there was a week where I was just really, really not doing good, and I had to process and reevaluate a lot of things. It felt like my reality took like a 90-degree turn, and me catching up to that was just really, really slow. And I had to very voluntarily push through a lot of those emotions to get to that acceptance and stop avoiding a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, I think an important word that you brought up is acceptance, is feel like a lot of times with the things that we're avoiding, like if we accept them as they are, then there's really no need to avoid them. I feel like the times that I'm avoiding something is because I don't want to accept the reality of whatever the answer might be.
Absolutely.
Like I'll not have a difficult conversation because what if the answer is not what I want it to be, so it's easier to not. But if I accept that the answer that I'm going to get isn't the answer that I want, then there's no need for me to avoid it. At that point, it's just like, all right, well, let's get that answer out of the way so that way I can, talk to the next person, and try and navigate this as best I can. What about you, Zoe? Is there anything that you feel like you avoid?
I mean, of course, yeah. Lots of things.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, I never avoid anything. Yeah, I mean, I keep thinking about like procrastination, but yeah, no, I think I can relate to like avoiding. Yeah, I definitely do procrastinate things like that seem difficult and then they become more difficult. That's something I hate about myself. But
yeah, just things like that I don't want to have to do. I don't want to have to go do this thing, so I'm gonna delay it as long as I can.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think that's similar to like avoidance. Procrastination is partially avoidance, but yeah, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. I think it just makes it worse usually. Like, but I have I have ADHD, so it's really hard for me to do things when I think I'm going to do them. So that's something that's challenging for me.
Well, and something I think that you've said in the past is like the things that you avoid, you just kind of like prolong the anxiety of it. If you're like, I don't want to do this because it makes me anxious. And so you just keep on putting it off, but you're just taking the anxiety that you would have. Like,
it makes it worse, actually.
I think that relates to kind of like the pushing it into the fog thing that I was saying, where it's like that now this anxiety is sitting in the fog, but this other thing is going to show up that I'm also choosing not to deal with. And when I decide to lift the fog, they're all going to kind of close in. And instead of dealing with them as they come, I kind of had to, juggle 5 things at once. And that was stressful.
Yeah. Well, and it's like literally like, if you avoid things, the anxiety builds. And if you just do them, then you show yourself that it's not as scary as you feel. But like avoidance actually increases anxiety. So that's like something I learned.
What about you? Do you feel like you procrastinate, Lucas?
No, I'm actually a very, like, ironically, I'm like a productive avoider. You know what I mean? Like when I have something that, like, I watched my mom die, like I held her hand and watched her die. And I looked at the date. It's hilarious. I looked at the dates and I was like a link crew leader. You know what link crew is? They're like senior leaders to freshmen. And it was like 4 days after I watched my mom die, I went into freshman orientation and like gave these kids like a speech. And I don't like, you have to like walk on lily pads to explain your life story. And like all these little freshmen, I was like, I came here, I graduated, did this.
You're a senior in high school?
Yeah. And I stepped on the last lily pad and then my mom died. And that's life, like, and then but after that, like I had the best grades I ever had after my mom died. I ran my ass off in cross country. Like
you just dove into the shit.
I did. I never actually dealt with the things in my head. I just did all my obligations. I just did the best I could and went like I ran until I blew my knees out. Like I played basketball every day. I did I went crazy in a weird way. Like I got so productive in a different sense where I'm not dealing with this thing though.
Yeah. You were overcompensating with like other things instead of feeling maybe like blowing your knees out. It's like, well, you're feeling pain that way, but you're not letting yourself feel the emotional pain. Like,
no, I think that, thank you for sharing that. Because I definitely feel like there is like a tendency, especially like when we're hurting, like I'm very much like work oriented where I'm just like, I'm hurting, but I need to make money. So if I'm working, then I'm not thinking about the thing I'm thinking about and I'm making money. I'm technically doing everything capitalism asks, you know what I mean? So it's like, you feel like you're productive, but at the same time, like if you're avoiding something, if your productivity is at the cost of you avoiding something, then it's like that eventually is just going to like, once you're done doing the thing, it's going to come crashing back in, kind of like the fog that Taylor was talking about.
I think there is kind of a valiant like piece of that though, is like because once you're able to start processing the anxiety, you didn't just do more things that made you anxious and you weren't avoidant of all these tasks that you needed to do. You can process these things with kind of like a badge of honor where you handled all these things. You did all these things and you don't have to worry about, making money now because you hustled so hard. You don't have to worry about maybe graduating because you hustled so hard or doing all these things. You can look back and be proud of some of the accomplishments you were able to make while you were kind of in the throes of it, and then you can process your stuff. But it's very person to person.
It is, because it's like you accomplished all these things, but you're crazy. You're insane. And so it's like a give and take where it's like I probably should have slowed down for a second, because the bad part about it is like ostensibly you look fine. People think you're doing great.
So
you don't get the help you might have needed.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
look good. You know?
Yeah, well, that's
shit.
I have
Perfectionism. Yeah.
I'm glad that you bring that up because there's a lot of people who will just be like, yeah, man, I saw the podcast. I saw you were doing this. It looks like you're super busy. And I'm just like, that means I'm hurting and I'm trying to find somewhere to put it.
No,
Fucking
actually,
psycho.
Help me.
that's
Help
actually
me right
really
fucking
funny.
now.
That's funny because somebody said that to me one time about like my social media presence, like a long time ago. And I was going through like the worst breakup and I was so miserable. But I was posting a lot of like thirst traps and stuff because I was like trying to feel better about I don't do that shit anymore. But somebody was like, and I was like, this one friend like didn't check on me for a while. And I was like, this fucking bitch, like I'm so sad. How is she not like, and when we finally talked, she was like, I mean, you just seem like you were doing so
Just looking
good.
like a baddie every day.
Multiple people were like, you just seem like you were doing so good. I was like, oh, so this is hurting me because I'm fucking dying inside and people aren't reaching out to me because I'm on the internet like, hey.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that way, it wasn't beneficial. I was like not getting the support I needed because people thought I didn't need it because I was fronting.
Yeah. How does that usually like, I don't want to say fucking how does that feel, but I mean, how does it feel when you're not being validated because you are so busy?
I don't even think about it. I just get busier. Like, fuck
You just get busier.
You know, it is what it is. And I don't know.
This is why you haven't been to therapy.
It is. Fuck it.
Did somebody call you out on it or did you notice this? Like, when did you have this realization that's what you were doing?
I'm pretty introspective. I try to be introspective. I like, you got to think about what you're doing. It's like, it's always when I was a UPS driver for a little bit. I was working I delivered the vaccine when things first happened. Like I was delivering to the back of hospitals. I worked 60 hours a week and I was going fucking crazy, you know? And I still like, and it was only like, I turned 21. As soon as I turned 21, I did that. And it's like, my mom died when I was 16. And I just always, like, I never stopped moving.
Yeah.
And I just think when I quit UPS though, because I worked there for like a year, busted my ass, I quit, and then everything slowed down right away. And then it's like, oh shit, I need to think. I've been drinking every day. I had to think about all these things that I was doing, and then
That's when you realized that you were going hard for that reason.
Yeah, and I gotta help myself to an extent and tell people I need help. Like it's on me to tell people like I am fucked up and I need assistance.
We've talked about that before too. Yeah, like
you can't just expect other people to figure it out.
He's working really hard. He must be hurting. Like nobody's gonna make that connection. Yeah, nobody's gonna make that connection.
Things.
Yeah,
it's really easy to just assume that people. I'm definitely guilty of that too. Where I see people and I'm like, damn, their life is really good, and it's like for all I know, they could be fucking miserable and they're coping.
Like the better your life looks on the internet, like the worse you're doing a lot of the time.
Yeah,
for sure.
My Facebook presence, killer. My fucking brain.
Yeah.
That's killer.
That's fucked up.
I thought you were gonna say that, and then you hesitated, and I was like, "Oh, so he's not gonna say it." And then you said it. Like, I'm not gonna say it.
I don't even know what
this
you said.
is for you to say.
What did you say?
You can watch the episode.
Yeah, watch the episode.
Watch the episode.
I'm just kidding. I said I'm not going to.
Well, that's so silly too, because that's such a thing that was like the stay away from drugs thing, where you're like, yeah, of course, duh. And then like when the internet and internet presence became a thing, it was such a common rhetoric for people to be like, well, that's not real, right? That's just what people post online. And you're like, okay, sure, duh. And then you go through it and you're like, oh shit, that is I was not the person that was posting online.
Yeah, no, right. It really was like once people did it to me, then I was like, oh yeah, that's most people that look like they're doing really well. It's like you're trying to push like it's like a fake it till you make it kind of a thing.
Yeah. I found myself trying to participate in that too, where I'm like, well, maybe if I just post a bunch, I'll start getting better. If I just start sharing stuff and like taking selfies and doing all this stuff, I'll start feeling better. And I feel like I really have to like pull back and just be like, that's not how you do it, dog. That's not how you do it.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
Thirst traps don't come from self-love.
I'm gonna start pushing thirst
Sometimes
traps.
they do.
Yeah, Taylor's gonna start doing thirst traps.
Get ready.
He's gonna unbutton the Hawaiian shirt.
The more
It's
of
gonna
my
be
cleavage
over.
is out, the more sad I am.
Take a button.
They're like, damn, Zoe posted a sexy picture. We should check
Johnny
on her.
Depp.
I want when people watch the clips it just to get lower and
Lower and lower.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every commercial break.
Yeah,
You
it's
shouldn't be
just-
wearing a shirt by then.
Yeah,
there we
go. So one last question before we wrap this up. So do you feel like the avoidance of dealing with that initial loss was something that finally caught up with you?
I think it's still catching up. Because, I mean, not really. Because I remember I had nightmare. Like, that was why I was drinking so much. Like, if I didn't drink or smoke hella weed, I'd have a nightmare every night.
Sure.
And that just recently stopped in, like, the past, like, probably 7 months. But
Really?
I've been more sober than I've ever been. And I talk about these things more with my family.
Processing.
Because I remember even when it first happened, all my siblings, we all stayed in our own rooms. Because, like, it happened when we were taking care of our older sister took care of me and my little sister when it first happened. And we all processed it by locking ourselves in our rooms. So it was like a metaphor almost. It's like we're all locked in our brains. It was weird,
Sure.
but I've taken the time to talk about what happened with them. I was like, I was weirdly surprised. Like, oh my God, you went through the same thing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've taken the time to talk about it with my family more, and that actually helped a lot. Like that's the family you have left of the people you need to talk to, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming and sharing that with us. And doing your first faux therapy session.
Yeah, this was good.
Yeah.
Diet therapy.
Feel good. I'm
Diet
sweating.
therapy.
This is
Can you
good.
tell us more about that?
All right, awesome. Well, we're going to take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio and Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. And welcome back to the smoke break. Our musical guest this week, somebody who I've been excited to have on for such a long time. Please welcome Emiliano Raps.
Thank you, Zane. Excited to be here. I've got 3 songs for you. My first one is a 6-minute epic about religion, so bear with me. We can play that track whenever. Yeah. This one's called Hustle Down. It's on YouTube. You can look me up at Emiliano Raps on YouTube. Hustle Down. Hey, yo, if we were made in the image of God, why is our mental and temple so flawed? What are we meant to be incidentally? Where is the evidence? Why the facade? Why the misleading and reeling and funny? But God's representatives, ruthless and cunning. Why do they care about who marries who and it doesn't affect them? Like, what would they do if their great institution was ruined, of course? Half of all marriages end in divorce. Mostly convinced that we're all hypocrites, but this grossly and overly horrible morals are twisted and scripture is quoted like we really know everyone that rewrote it. The motive's exactly what you thought it'd be. Control of the followers, some of us see. All of us follow a person of thought. The difference is vision, and what we've been taught is based on the evidence, not an illusion. Religion is starting from a false conclusion. Ass backwards and into the pale. You set out to prove your delusion and fail. Don't ask for sympathy, life is a mystery. But I don't believe in your tales. Why? If you look, you will find theories that prove that my faith isn't blind. Mutation, migration, will change over time. Put down your scriptures and open your mind. They tell me read Matthew, read Luke, as long as we're name dropping. Maybe you should read the books of Docking, Sagan, and Hawkins. Fuck that up a little bit. But that's no way to live to me. That's a fucked up way to live to me. Why? Try to tell me. Man, I've been told life is hard cause I don't have no faith in God, cause I don't believe what I read in a book utilized by cons, crooks, and thieves. Please, facts are facts backed by evidence. Your facts are backed by ink and dead presidents. All lies, no relevance, no design by intelligence. I've been told life is hard cause I don't have no faith in God, cause I don't believe what I read in a book utilized by cons, crooks, and thieves. Please, facts are facts backed by evidence. Your facts are backed by ink and dead presidents. All misinformation, no relevance, no design by intelligence. No design by intelligence. No design by intelligence. And most of my teachers said some fucked up shit, but most of my teachers were wrong about something, but most of these preachers are right about nothing except their wings. No halos in sight, no lie, they want to take away our rights. And I am not joking, but don't take my word for it, go read on your own. I'll give you a minute, a second, a day, just press pause, read, come back, press play. Done? What's your malady? It's easy to see God as a fallacy, made to mold our morality, lacking logic or reality. Bo came down from the mount, having seen a burning bush that talked with laws 10 count. Saying we don't follow any and we rush doom. Bet you about $1 that dude did mushrooms. He was probably Aesop rocking, tripping, getting down like a shaman. Like we hear so often about what medicine men rocked in they medicine pouch. Drugs, a godlike vision, chemical reaction, mistaken for religion, a mission. Listen, I don't hate anyone, see, I just hate when you try to control me. Tell me what I can't see, tell me what I can or cannot be. Tell me what I do or do not need. Tell me what kind of life I should lead. Tell me we live in the land of the free. Just don't blaspheme, have sex or smoke weed. Don't believe anybody but us. Our book, our church, our truth you can trust. Somehow I don't trust that. I don't know why I don't trust that. Yeah, I don't motherfucking trust that. Hey, I've been told life is hard cause I don't have no faith in God, cause I don't believe what I read in a book utilized by cons, crooks, and thieves. Please, facts are facts backed by evidence. Your facts are backed by ink and dead presidents. All lies, no relevance, no design by intelligence. I've been told life is hard cause I don't have no faith in God, cause I don't believe what I read in a book utilized by cons, crooks, and thieves. Please, facts are facts backed by evidence. Your facts are backed by ink and dead presidents. All lies, no relevance, no design by intelligence. Now I am not saying that I don't believe in anything. Now I am not saying that I don't believe in anything. Yeah. I am not saying that I don't believe there's forces at work we cannot perceive. Nature is greater than what we can see. Paper to pulp, lumber to tree. Humans achieve knowledge of earth. Humans are power, necessity, birth, invention. But humans are flawed, so humans fought over their deity's laws. Humans are driven by visions. Humans are cause, affecting the catalyst. Humans are only humans, so they're battling. So they're battling over philosophy, over the land, over religions and over the fans, over the pious and over the damned. The lions are liars, they're eating the lambs. And the preachers pray, P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y. I really can't see why we think and act that way. I should say they, you may quote, like it or not, we're all in the same boat. Same earth, same solar system, same universe, same plane of existence. So we gotta make do. Separate facts from that which is untrue. Separate school and religion. Separate scientific text from fiction. This is the true quest of humankind. Have we learned our lesson? Religion limits knowledge and doesn't answer our questions. And that's no way to live to me. That's a fucked up way to live to me. I said that's no way to live to me. They always try to tell me I've been told life is hard, cause I don't have no faith in God, cause I don't believe what I read in a book utilized by cons, crooks, and thieves. Please, facts are facts backed by evidence. Your facts are backed by ink and dead presidents. All lies, no relevance, no design by intelligence. I've been told life is hard, cause I don't have no faith in God, cause I don't believe what I read in a book utilized by cons, crooks, and thieves. Please, facts are facts backed by evidence. Your facts are backed by ink and dead presidents. All misinformation, no relevance, no design by intelligence. No design by intelligence. No design by intelligence. No design by intelligence. Oh, I almost went into a Jamaican accent there. My bad. Whew. It's hot out here. Holy shit, I don't think I've wrapped in the sun like this in my whole life. Alright. Play that next track. This next one... Wait, which one is next? I think it's... Oh yeah, the slogan. This song is about advertising. Yeah. You're in good hands. You're in good hands. Like, yeah. You're in good hands. You're in good hands. Look how good these hands are. Like, yeah. Listen, you're in good hands. What's in your wallet? Get in the game. 15 minutes can save you 15% of your brain. Nobody does it better than me. Are you here for chemistry? Hey, better living through chemistry. The greatest in amenities, the latest in amphetamines, the best possible outcome of capitalistic pedigree. Reach out and touch someone, but where's the beef? Beware, once you pop, you can't stop. No relief. Is it live or is it Memorex? If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be tied, cupping that Demorex, so I can concentrate like Juicy Juice, the very best. I'm loving in my Blackberry, clutch to my hairy chest, because you're worth it. A diamond is forever. We answer to a higher authority. Never let them see you sweat. Never follow a better tomorrow. Be all that you can be in the army. Ended up having your chest hollow. Imperialism, it's everywhere you wanna be. Time for clarity, the relentless pursuit of honesty. When banks compete, you win nothing. Runs like a deer, double your pleasure, double your fucking fear. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is wary and very concerned about your activities. Sharing is caring, so keep calm and carry on. The deep debt is very strong, so we sweat, bury our heads against the canary in this very song. It's in this very song. Yeah, do you like it? Oh, I think you like it. Maybe you should buy it. You should probably buy it. If you like it, yeah, I think you like it. Maybe you should buy it. You should probably buy it. I flow, finger licking good. Taste the rainbow, eat fresh, unleash the beast, flavored in mango. Does she or doesn't she think different to covet the mink and little trinkets? That distinction significant. We bring good things to life like Frankenstein. We make it happen like rapping about it. Frankly, I'm embracing ingenuity. When you get it, created a tradition of trust and a vision of us in the infinite. Let's kick it intimate. They play us like an instrument, fucking us with the dollar. Holler is insignificant. Can you hear me now? That's progressive, culturally impotent, development arrested. Mostly it is simple shit. When they feed you the music, better sound through engineering and fearing them who produced it. Do the do, break out of the ordinary, just do it. Infuse it with the mark of a man and refuse to fucking lose it. Refuse to lose it. Refuse to lose it. Refuse to lose it. You should buy it. I think you should buy it. Do you like it? Yeah, tell me, do you like it? I think you should buy it. You should probably buy it. The taste, famously fresh. Fun develops instantly, ethics and morals less. Checking it more or less. I'm arresting with confidence, and I'm testing the poor or less, cause I'm resting on compliments. Cresting the mountaintop, we're moving beyond documents. My head, my heart, and my data now cloud occupants. Fly the friendly skies infested with drones. Are they from a friend or an enemy? Like anyone knows, anything goes in Afghanistan, manly, yes, but I like it too. I don't get mad, I only get glad when I got fighting to do. And it might be with you. The silver bullet, please don't squeeze the Charmin. Arm in the trigger, now pull it. It's not too late to sleep like a baby. The happiest place on earth is a coffin. They say I'm crazy, there's some things money can't buy. For everything else, it's amazing. The love of it, the root of all evil in people. Now please pay me. Woo. Please pay me. I said please pay me. Yeah, maybe you should buy it. You should probably buy it. Please pay me. Please pay me. You should probably buy it. Oh man, I am more tired than I thought I would be after 2 songs in the sun. Holy shit, that's hard work. All right, I got one more. This last one is about borders. It's also on YouTube. This one's called Catch. Go ahead and play that track. Yeah, this is about borders and how they fucking stuck. Yeah, these cops trying to catch my meaning. They said it was illegal. The world is full of borders that only pertain to people. These orders seemingly feeble in the face of truth speaking. So I hit the booth leaking with reason and lit the beacon, seeking reciprocation of dreaming or even action, participation in conversational satisfaction. So put away the pomp and circumstances tend to change. You opened up the box of Pandora to free the slaves, but had to flee the slaves. You probably didn't see the slaves as humans. Dollar signs designed to help you mine and pave the ruins. Man, hate to say it, but I'm impatient. If only I had the focus of ancient civilization. Maybe I trade that safety and comfort that we're all placed in to run in a place and time when the design was little demarcation. I find lines hard to put faith in. Who makes them? And it's reasonably easy to fake them. I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, 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 run. I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, run, run away. I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, 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 run. I can't stay, I can't stay. Yeah, they draw imaginary lines in the sand without lifting a hand, and they list the demands. They don't listen to man, much less woman. It's damn dumb, humdrum politics. They swear to God or Allah, ignore most of the power trips. All of this is ours, kid. The call of risk, the hours live. The fall of this, the tower is the empowerment power, kid. See, we gotta banish these divisions. Artificial incision, precision cut with a scissor. But is it what for your vision when kids aren't free to visit a vision? Cause the boulevards are blocked by a prison. Bully pulpits have risen to bully folks into giving up on the faith that people traded for their nation or religion. Fuck patiently waiting, I'm making a statement, cross lines. The situation is immigration of all kinds, equally valid if we're really free to dip. Why we require certificates and permission slips? I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, 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 run. I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, run, run away. I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, 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 run. I can't stay, I can't stay. Yeah, I spit hot flame and I kick it all through the pain of intelligence while the game is irrelevant to the goal. Like, why do we need another fucking factory to boost capacity? I mean, it has to be out of control, right? The architects will push the apathy to hold it. The border is the shape of the bridge. mirrors and stone walls that separate us from our invading neighbors and call out into the dark of the night. Might go without it. If implications impossibly awful, I'll fucking shout it. Emancipation, new declaration of interdependence. Been in a bit of a bitter position. We better be building some bridges for our descendants. End of sentence. Insanity's fucking senseless. I've gotta run, 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 run. I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, run, run. Yeah, I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, run, run away. Hey, I can't stay, I can't stay. I've gotta run, run, run away. Just kidding. Thank you. I'm Emiliano Raps. Find me on YouTube. Thank you, Zane, for having me. I appreciate it.
That has been Emiliano Raps. We will be right back after this commercial break. All right, and we are right back with the smoke break. Welcome, Emiliano Raps. Wow.
Thank you.
You did indeed rap. That was
I did. I
rap
do.
for sure.
I do. I does.
I does. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
thank you.
Yeah, this is cool. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's literally cool in here, which I appreciate.
Yes, yeah. We had to get a fan going in here, otherwise Zoe was gonna come undone.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have any recent announcements that you want to share with the podcast, and then we can kind of transition to our next topic?
Nothing recent, but just, you can find me on all social media, Emiliano Raps, YouTube. There's videos up there. And,
Okay.
I am going to do a beat battle coming up soon, but I can't remember. It's the 29th. But
Okay. Cool.
What's a beat battle?
well, it's, I guess, not exactly beat battle, but it's where I'm going to submit 3 beats. They're gonna, I think, have people like freestyling over beats, and then there's gonna be like judging and prizes.
Okay.
Figure 8 is the one. That, runs it.
Figure 8, super dope.
Yeah.
We've had him on the podcast.
Oh,
so.
really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I forgot to put his name on the title, but yeah, well, I will go back and fix that. But yeah, so this week we're talking about sexuality, which not a common thing to talk about with rappers, but we actually, I will say myself, I am bisexual. And
Me too.
Thank you. I was like, for the love of God, don't leave me hanging. You're what?
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. If you were just like, you're what? And then just panicked, I would have lost my mind.
I should have just been like, well, I'm straight. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Cool for you, dude. So yeah, what's the kind of journey with that been like for you?
Well, for me, it just happened.
Okay.
I went to see River Butcher, who transitioned to male. I was previously Rhea Butcher, a comedian. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but he's very funny. And it just got me thinking about gender first.
Okay.
And for a long time, I've thought maybe I was bi, but I didn't want to admit it. I have this weird thing with the opposite of most people. Like, I don't feel like coming out as queer is going to be get me discriminated by anti-queer people. I feel like if I say I'm queer, people who are like on the left or queer are going to be like, you're not really that.
Yeah.
And that's not real. That's not what people do at all. But that's just my idea is like, I think as a previously straight white male, I just thought like, I don't have any room to claim any identity. Like I have to like be an ally. I can't I can't just say I'm something I'm not. But then I realized, but I am.
Yeah.
So that was the big change. Is after seeing River Butcher, I was like, just thinking about gender. And the first thing I thought is, I don't want to be thought of as a man. Like, I don't think I really think of myself as a man.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it was just like, and I'm definitely bi.
Yeah.
I think that was just kind of like a little, they weren't really exactly related, but like, it was just like, if you can start thinking of yourself as not necessarily male gendered, then you can definitely think of yourself as whatever sexuality.
Yeah.
But it opens up the door for you to kind of question other things too, where you're like, maybe if I'm not a dude, then maybe my perception of what how that would operate, how I need to operate is gonna change a little bit. I've definitely experienced similar things. Like the gender conversation that I had with myself kind of circled back around. And I was like, I'm a guy. I'm a male. I've never really had a questioning that, but I definitely wanted to go through the process of like, what if, and like ask a lot of questions. And separately from that, my experience with sexuality was just I always thought I was bi from when I kind of like grasped the idea of sexuality and preference and things like that. And I feel like I've kind of landed more in the pansexual realm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole. They're very adjacent. They're very similar.
Yeah.
And the idea of sexuality is a whole, like people call it like a spectrum, very left to right. I think of it more as like a sphere. Like you can end up anywhere on the kind of some of this and over here a little bit too. Yeah. And there's a lot of different things that play into it.
I have a joke about coming out as bi and my friend being pan and making it me feel like a crusty old conservative.
Yeah.
And it's Taylor's fault. Yeah, that was you. Yeah.
But you know, it's funny because my wife is bi and she really expressed to me how she likes the label bi, and it's you know, basic same idea basically. But I watched this YouTube video. I wish I could remember the YouTuber, but he does like a lot of bi content, and it was a really good video where he said like something about if you have any amount of feeling toward whatever, I don't want to say the same sex, because any sex that's not the traditional one that you're supposed to like, you can be bi. Like, you can claim that. Like, any small amount
had
of
I known that, I would have been in trouble.
Well, and that's what really did it for me. It's like, I just don't feel like, because I haven't, like, had experience with men or non-women or whatever. Yeah. But it really got...
similarly felt the same, where I was just like, I haven't done anything, so how can I claim to be part of this space or part of this group or community?
If I'm not cooking, how am I a chef?
Yeah.
Good way to put it. I don't think it's that black and white too. I think a lot of preference goes into it, and I think you can be 90% leaning towards preferring females and still be bi.
Exactly.
And that's totally acceptable.
And that video made that point to me and made it okay for me to say that, because I definitely am like more attracted to women than any other gender.
Sure.
But it's like, and that it stuck in my head and was like, oh, well, that means you just have to be straight. You know?
Right. Yeah. And it's like, well, 9 out of 10 times is this. And you know what they say about doctors, you know?
Yeah.
But the preference thing is really what we kind of like did it for me. Is like, you can have preferences.
Exactly.
It's not that black and white.
Zoe, from like kind of a clinical standpoint, like what do you come across with like understanding of sexuality and gender, things like that?
From a clinical standpoint,
did I ask that question weird?
I just didn't know you were going to ask me that.
Yeah. Well,
give us a textbook.
I'm like, there's not really a
perfect rundown.
I don't know.
I ask bad questions.
I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know.
How do you relate to this topic? Is my new question.
I didn't really know we were going to talk. I wasn't prepared. I don't know. I don't.
Are you straight?
Know. I think you have to. I don't really know if I'm straight. Fair. I guess what I think is that I think a lot of our preferences are socially conditioned. And I think that if I'd been raised in a different culture, I probably would not be straight, but I think I am straight. But I also question a lot of whether that's socially conditioned. Yeah. Because I find women like physically attractive, but I'm way too intimidated to like pursue that. And I feel like I care way more about like what a man thinks of me, but I also think that's socially conditioned because I think my value, because I was socialized to believe that my value is rooted in what the male gaze. And so I think it's really... I mean, I think I'm mostly
the male
straight.
Buys.
I'm mostly.
I was like, I just go to have it.
I think I'm mostly straight because I don't feel like I think I'm in touch with my sexuality enough that I am like would know if I was repressing something that was seriously needing to come out, because I don't think I would be able to, because I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. Yeah. But I definitely think I probably would have had I would be bi if I wasn't more like, I'm like afraid of what women think of my body, which is a whole nother conversation that people are.
And that's the way I was for a long time. I was like, I would be bi if I was raised differently or if things were different or whatever. And then at a certain point I was just like, I am.
Well, I was going to say, I think if we're considering it like in the same way that you're talking about it, then then I would probably, like, I don't really think there's such thing as being straight. I think it's a spectrum or a, I think it's a very, but I think I often have questioned whether the reason I'm see myself as straight is because I'm socially conditioned to feel shame around the other time. Not that I'm ashamed, but it's in there somewhere.
I mean, I'm sure it does seem like, there's the thing that people say like everyone's a little bi or whatever. And it's like probably true. It's like, why would we be completely attracted only to the opposite sex?
Yeah.
Like any individual.
I think part of it comes down to like, for lack of better words, like the genitalia too. People are so bogged down on that. And it's like, I can pretty confidently say I'm attracted to like femininity, but the genitalia, I don't give a shit. What you're doing down there, what you were born with down there, what you choose to do with what down there does not change my attraction level to the person if I have already crossed the threshold of being attracted to them. 90% of the time I've ended up being attracted to females that I were born as female and grew up as female, but that has not negated the other 10% of the time where things outside of that 90% exist.
We don't have to be clean or anything.
No,
right? Like it's
no,
all
no.
weird. Yeah, because for me, honestly, like the big deciding factor was like, I want to suck a dick.
yeah, exactly.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people's thing where they're just like,
Well, if that makes you bi, then same.
Well, and for me, it was like, I want to suck any gender's dick. I don't care what gender they are.
I will suck her dick.
Yeah.
No, I feel like I would. Yeah, no, I feel like I would have had sex with a woman if I wasn't like didn't have weird hangups. But so.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, because my mom was a lesbian, is still a lesbian. She might be asexual, but was ex-lesbian. But so like queerness was never like something that wasn't accepted within my house, like my grandfather was bi, my mom was a lesbian,
cool.
and I'm like, yep, probably straight. And it's like,
I mean, a lesbian mom, that's like I grew up with tons of kids with friends with lesbian moms. Yeah. But a bi grandpa, that's something you don't hear very often.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That dude cross-dressed.
That's cool. That's great.
Yeah.
I don't think we're supposed to use that term.
Dude?
No.
You're right. It's a bad word.
No, cross-dressing.
Well, inform me that way I can be more.
Well, I mean, I think that means that somebody, I don't know. I just don't. I think that term has been used for, and maybe I don't know. Maybe
I think it might be a little outdated, but I think people, people who aren't trans, like men who just want to dress like women, I think would still say they cross-dress.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if cross-dress is the appropriate term, but maybe there isn't one, but there probably is, and I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll get more educated. It's a process.
And
gender, I think maybe gender bending or something like that is a term people use. I don't know.
Gender fluid.
Or non-gender, like a
non-gender conforming.
Gender non-conforming.
There we go. Boom.
Yep.
But I want to say kudos to you for just being very blunt about that, because I feel like that's people don't want to say shit like that. Like a lot of dudes are like, I don't want to admit that I want to do that. I don't want to, and it's like, if you're gonna fucking consider it, you might have to consider some things that are outside of the realm of what you immediately consider socially acceptable, or what you immediately considered acceptable within your sexuality if you're exploring your sexuality.
And I have this weird backwards thing, because I was raised in Portland by I was gonna say super liberal parents, but that's not even enough. Like my dad was a communist, my mom was just
comrade,
super left wing, and we went to gay pride every year, and my best friend's mom was lesbian, and so same thing. It's it was never an issue. It was never weird, or homosexual was always totally normal, but for me, I just for some reason always felt like, oh yeah, I have to be the ally, I have to support these people, but I'm not
not one of them.
Yeah, and it was like it said, it was from, I was like, I don't want to be claiming your guy's identity, y'all's identity, because I don't feel it's strong enough.
Yeah. I've heard that before, that a lot of people that identify as bisexual feel like they're am I taking
imposter?
Or that
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, or they're claiming to be part of a community that they're not, but then also there are a lot of people that feel that way too. So I think it's a controversial thing.
Because I was in middle school,
really,
that the conception of that middle school people kind of suck sometimes. So if you're talking about that in middle school, it was really awkward for me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm somebody who very recently kind of figured out where I land on all of that, and I still feel fear. So to be able to have found yourself that early, I think is a super cool thing.
Thank you. It was an awkward experience, but I'm kind of glad that I was very honest with myself. You know what I mean?
How old are you?
I'm 26 now. I think I was 12 or 13 when I was maybe this is a fucking thing, because I was definitely I remember my first kiss was in first grade or some shit. So I was never really shy to the idea of couples romance, or identifying yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that just crossing that threshold was weird, especially with nobody else, when people were dogging on people for that.
Yeah.
Especially dudes that experience that were just kind of got it.
Well, I enjoy this conversation a whole hell of a lot, but we are at our hour mark. So thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. I know it snuck right up. Yeah, I appreciate you coming, being honest, sharing your life, sharing your music, all of it. So it's been a pleasure. That has been the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pints Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. And we will see you next time.
I want to suck a dick.
Me too.